After becoming the CEO of Volkswagen in 2018, Herbert Diess saw a massive opportunity to shift Volkswagen's focus to electric vehicles. However, Herbert knew that Tesla's EV technology was far superior to Volkswagen's and decided that the only solution was to go all in on electric vehicles. In order to do this, Herbert put out an ambitious $38 billion plan to transition the entire fleet of Volkswagen to electric. While it seemed like a logical move to Herbert, other Volkswagen executives saw it as risky and radical. On June 8, 2020, while Herbert was preparing to cut down Volkswagen's investments in gasoline cars, the supervisory board removed Herbert's role as the CEO of the automaker. In this video, I'm going to explain how the man who spoke up about Tesla was replaced. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing for more content like this, and let's get right into it. After being caught lying on emissions tests in 2015, Volkswagen was in big trouble and struggled to fix its reputation.
It was a deceit on the greatest level. All of their advertising claimed it was clean diesel, eco-friendly. It was a complete fraud.
As the years passed by, Volkswagen began to return to its usual profits. In the first half of 2018, Volkswagen's deliveries, sales, and profits had all increased year over year. However, after rising to the CEO of Volkswagen, Herbert knew that the automaker was in huge trouble. During a press conference wrapping up the first half of 2019, Herbert congratulated Volkswagen's performance, but ended his speech with a looming announcement. We cannot rest our laurels because great challenges lie ahead of us in the coming quarters. After proposing his $38 billion EV plan, Herbert was faced with an immediate challenge: the automaker's risk-averse culture. A feud began to start within Volkswagen's board, with one side supporting Herbert's ambitious plans and the other side supporting a less risky transition to EVs. Nonetheless, he continued on, advertising for a change in the way Volkswagen was run.
Of course, you're really working on turning around the culture to make the culture more open, more, let's say, responsive, more failure tolerant. No, and we try. Cultural change takes time.
One of the largest barriers was managing the conflicting interests within the shareholders. Unlike Tesla, where Elon Musk can quickly move forward with new gigafactories or vehicle designs, Herbert had to satisfy a wide variety of parties before moving on with a simple decision. The largest and toughest of these parties is the family-controlled shareholders. Unlike a typical company that has a board filled with powerful representatives, Volkswagen's board of 19 members is filled with large shareholders. This is primarily because of a man by the name of Ferdinand Porsche. Back in the mid-1900s, Ferdinand was the largest shareholder of Volkswagen, with the majority of the voting shares. As Ferdinand began to age, he knew that eventually, he would either have to sell these shares or pass them on to his family. By selling the shares, Ferdinand would be able to secure his family plenty of cash in the future, but this cash would be quickly spent and was not going to fuel the family for generations to come. So Ferdinand decided to go with the second option, which was to pass his shares on to his family. As the generations continued to pass down their shares in Volkswagen, more and more family members began to own a large stake in Volkswagen. Today, 53% of the voting shares of Volkswagen is owned by descendants of Ferdinand Porsche. To top it off, the state of Lower Saxony in Germany owns 20% of the votes. After all this government and family ownership, less than half of the board seats are actual Volkswagen labor representatives. Due to this structure, Herbert had a hard time executing his goal to electrify Volkswagen.
The governance is challenging in Volkswagen. Now it's very big, it's very international. We have many stakeholders with not always coherent interests. But so far, I think we get the act together.
Now, while Herbert was in a tough position, he was still able to convince and execute on his plan. One of the main ways Herbert did this was by pointing out the obvious facts that Tesla was far more advanced in electric vehicle technology. For example, in one interview, Herbert openly stated that Tesla was 10 years ahead, and without aggressive investments into EVs, it would just be a matter of time before Volkswagen would go bankrupt. After months of hard work, Herbert was able to convert its Zwickau and Dresden factory to electric plants and invest in new battery technologies.
And we did a lot to prepare. We invested heavily to adopt to the new after NAFTA regulation in the United States, investing heavily. We just had groundbreaking in our plant in Chattanooga to double up capacities. We soon will put all the machinery there to ramp up production for a new EV, electric vehicle for the United States. We are really ramping up our software capabilities, buying companies, building up new skills. We are heavily investing in EVs, in battery cells. So I think we're doing the right things to be competitive.
A few months later, Volkswagen was preparing for the release of its first prominent electric vehicle named the ID.3. However, the release of the vehicle was delayed for months because of software issues, and being the CEO, Herbert took much of the blame for the issues. After realizing that Volkswagen needed more cash to put into electric vehicles, Herbert began developing a plan to cut down Volkswagen's investments into gas-powered vehicles, which due to the tension at the time was poorly received. After confidential information was leaked to the media, Herbert was frustrated at the board and criticized several board members for leaking the information. While we never got to know what confidential information he was talking about, rumors are that the software issues for the ID.3 was never intended to be leaked, and that the group opposing Herbert's ambitious plans purposely leaked the information to help remove Herbert's position as the CEO of Volkswagen. After many members of the board got scared that Herbert was driving down the value of their Volkswagen shares, Herbert was removed as the CEO of Volkswagen on June 8, 2020.
Squabbling at the top table of Volkswagen has resulted in a management reshuffle. Herbert Diess was replaced as chief executive of the VW brand on Monday. Chief Operating Officer Ralf Brandstetter is to take on the role. The reshuffle comes after weeks of spats between VW's powerful Labour leaders and managers over the pace and scale of cost-cutting plans. He's been battling to get the company's powerful Labour leaders, who control 9 of the 19 seats on the supervisory board, to agree to painful cost cuts. The savings are designed to help pay for a €34 billion or $38 billion investment in electric and autonomous cars. Diess was also under pressure after VW was forced to halt sales of its newest Golf model because of software glitches.
While Volkswagen claims to still be interested in transitioning to electric, the truth is that the automaker is still far less ambitious now when it comes to investing in EVs. One analyst reported that the Volkswagen transformation thesis is at the least being delayed. The demotion of Herbert Diess as CEO of Volkswagen doesn't just represent the end of Herbert's ambitious plan to electrify, but all of the legacy automakers. Herbert Diess is a manifestation to other legacy automaker CEOs that if they begin aggressively risk-taking into the EV transition, then the consequence will be a story of anger, defiance, and demotion. Let me know what you think about the demotion of Herbert Diess in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.